much as you used to, and that during the pandemic it was contactless, and so it was a way for them to stay open. But now you're not really looking for that, according to them. My guess is they're dealing with some theft too, as I've seen videos of it coming out of their stores. Now, I gotta be honest with you. This is a big problem. I see videos of it all the time. I have not seen as much of it in person than the internet tells me is going on. And just the other day, he said this man and his grandfather were just like shoving food, and I'd rather have to scan. So I'm already doing it. Match my ID because I bought the house and all of this, and if it's a hassle, I'm not doing it, right? And then I was like, I'll just go there, fill this out and get it done. But the line to become a member, they told me was 2 hours long. It's not a goddamn roller coaster. It is paper towels. What the hell am I waiting 3 hours in line for to become a member? But like, that's probably what I'm going to end up doing, is going there. I'll probably end up doing things like that. And, you know, and I think more membership, if that's what it takes for me to, you know, swipe a card, if that will help them with the theft, because you and I pay for the theft, the company doesn't. You know that, right? Every time they lose money, the prices go up of what you want to buy. That's why turning a blind eye to what's happening, it's nothing really. That's what it is. Yeah, apparently some people are coming to the word Chino for the first time this morning. Yeah, I forget that sometimes, that not everybody knows every term, every word. Sorry about that. But yeah, Chinos means pants. It means nice pants, essentially. Yeah, that's what it means.
Rock 106.9.
I got new Bon Jovi and new POD for you, part of New Shirt Tuesday. A few other songs up our sleeves, too, at 9 o'clock. We'll get to that. It's 330-450-7625 to send a text, and a lot of you have, about the shopping experiences out there now. We've seen multiple retailers rethinking their approach to self-checkout. Not that they're going to be ripped out of there, but they're going to make some changes. Mike was like, yo, man, I got on a kick recently where I wanted to start backing up CDs again. And he said, so I told my wife I'm running to the store to get a CD binder. Her response was, they make those? And he goes, so I go to the store and I ask him about the CD binder. They had them in a cabinet locked away like what you're talking about. A guy pulled one out and said, I can ring you up back here. And he was like, I'm looking to go, for this other stuff, in the store. And I was like, well, you have to ring up back here. It's a device. And he goes, it's a blank folder with empty pages in it. And they're like, it's a device. And so it was locked up and had to be rung out in a different section of the store. Remember the different sections of the store during COVID? Remember they were like, well, this is this is essential, this stuff. And I was like, well, why don't you rope off the sections of... Oh yeah, that's right. That's kind of right. So we were talking about the shopping experience, and it's kind of ruined now a little bit. I know, especially if you're my age, growing up, going to the mall and just wandering around, looking at things, window shopping. It was just such a huge part of the experience. It's kind of been taken out of it now. And so we were talking about that, and more of you were talking about to get a card. And I said, okay. I said, I must have said something along the way. And the point is, like, I'm anti-digital money only. That I want you to be able to still use cash. And he goes, isn't this essentially the same thing? Like, essentially what they're doing. Now, he thinks what's going to end up happening is that they're setting us up to be chipped. Instead of a card, you'll have a chip in you so you can enter, pay, and go, and it will be convenient. And again, they're going to sell you on the convenience. So anybody who's going to laugh at Mark about this, I would tell you to stop laughing. There's already stores in Seattle that are doing it. The Amazon stores already have the palm imprint thing where you can check out. And so more and more of that is coming. For sure, Mark is right about this. That's going to be a thing. I don't think it's the mark of the beast and all this other crazy stuff that happens out there. But is it about a potential shortage of goods at some point and about rationing down the road? Yes. Yeah, I'm that crazy where I could see that. Do I think that's the bulk of the reason they do it right now? No. I think what you stumbled upon, and a lot of people have, is the good idea for it down the road. The idea of it now is it's definitely about spying on you. It's definitely about keeping track of what you buy, what you like, what you will spend the money on. This was on sale, so you bought it, versus the times you've come in here and didn't buy it when it wasn't on sale. I think it's about research on you. Knowing what motivates you people is so valuable. By you people, I mean me too. Human beings. You would not believe the money iHeart has spent in my career on knowing who it is you are, what you do, what motivates you, who did you marry, where'd you go to school. If you make X amount of dollars, how much more likely are you to listen to country music versus rock? Do we know all of that? We have spent God loads amount of money finding out exactly who you are. And so I think mostly what you're dealing with there is free market research that you signed up for versus, hey, take this survey. It's like, no, swipe your membership card. And I think it's mostly about that. Is it about down the road, some of that? Limiting what you buy? Sure. You gotta understand, I don't think any retailer wants to limit what you're buying. That's coming from above the retailer. Now, are they pressured into doing things like that? We're going to get out there and tell everybody you have the bad CEO. Just watch. They don't know. They don't even know the names of your CEOs. But when we get out there in the State of the Union, we tell them now, they're going to turn on you. They'll hate you. And so we'll make your CEO on the dartboard now. Do what we want. You better do it now. They the original pimps. I've told you forever. Dude, I know, dude, people kind of hate Reagan now, but I'm from the government and I'm here to help is one of the most laughable statements of all time. Like, it really is. It's a laughable statement. I think that's coming down the road, but I don't think a retailer wants you buying any less than what you're buying. That's how they're making their money, you know? I think the guy who's buying up every inch of farmland he can is absolutely thinking about restricting how much food you buy at some point. But he's going to do it. I don't think the retailer is going to be the reason. The retailer wants you buying food even if you don't eat it. Just give us the money. The guy who's buying up all the farmland that got the most serious virus of all time, the guy who got everything about that dead wrong, that guy, yeah, he's buying up all that farmland, dude, and it's coming for sure at some point. That's why he's doing it. He's preparing for an inevitability he sees coming down the road. So I think you could see some of that. I'm hoping to be dead before it gets here. I'm not sure I will be. I'm hoping to be. But I think you are seeing people prepare for that without a shadow of a doubt. I think you'd almost have to be crazy not to see it. But I don't think that's the bulk of the reason now. I think what we are seeing is, oh no, these are also good reasons to be doing that for them. Absolutely. But a retailer wants you shopping. They want you spending your money. They want you spending too much money. They want you wasting things on, a product you don't necessarily need, because it's how they make all of their money. So I don't think that's going to be motivated from them. I think it's mostly about market research. I notice when I use my membership card at self-checkout at the grocery store, because you have to, I notice when I use that, when it spits out the coupons, miraculously it spit out coupons for things I just bought. Hey, look at that. I buy this kind of coffee creamer every time I come into the grocery store. And would you look at that? I just checked myself out and now my coupon is that. I wonder how that happened. The barcode is how that happened. So I think it's a lot about market research at first, because that's mostly what the businesses are about, is making their money. They don't give a damn about anything. I've said it to you a million times. Companies don't have morals. They don't. They have the morals you and I lie about having in the moment, and that's why everything is a mess. Because we lie about which morals we have on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. They're different. And the companies are all trying to keep track with all our lies, and so they always look so hypocritical. But at the end of the day, that's why they do it, is because you and I pretend to care about things at different times of different days of different weeks and months. They don't give a damn about anything except for that almighty dollar. You know why, don't you? Well, it's because money doesn't matter even a little.
Back to the Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
I have new POD for new Feature Tuesday coming up at 9. Also a local artist, 6 Whole Months, the name of them. We'll give you their song, Hawkins High, as well. We'll get to that 9 a.m. We had been talking about the shopping experience and self-checkout, so we're going to dig that conversation back up again tomorrow. There's so many good points in there that you guys are raising that I haven't been able to get to yet, and so we will approach that subject from a different angle. We will do that tomorrow. But I wanted to get this into, as I'm willing to bet a lot of you are dealing with this problem. Some of you are the problem. Now, don't get mad yet. You don't even know what it is. But we have some teachers out there complaining about parents. Now, we hear about parents complaining about schools and what their kids might or might not be learning in schools, and the books and this and that and the bathrooms and, oh my God, litter boxes for the cats. And like all this kind of stuff that never happened, right? And like people kind of lose their minds about schools. But it turns out the schools are losing their minds about you, the parents. Apparently, you guys cannot stop texting your kids when they're at school. Now, I think this would really depend on how old your kid is, although more and more kids are using phones at younger ages and texting. I know my better half sends her son to school, and they kind of have like this online thing where it's like they update multiple times a day. Here he is at this, and he's working with Teresa on their project at this, and like, so you can kind of peer in and kind of take a look. I don't necessarily hate that. It's like, okay, you know what I mean? Most important thing in your life, your kid. You want to be able to know that they're doing all right and, you know, doing okay. Okay, fair enough. But apparently more and more parents are texting their kids at school. You want to stay in touch, but they say you're texting just too often. And so a few teachers have started to keep track of what the texts are from parents to their kids. Joe Clement, as a matter of fact, is a Virginia high school teacher, and he's teaching economics and government. And in those classes, these are the text messages he says are coming to students most. What did you get on your test? Did you get that field trip form signed? Do you want chicken or hamburgers for dinner tonight? My guess is, between two dinner choices. That's what he lists here. And he's begging you, stop texting your kids at school. The theory is this. Everybody admits that cell phones are distracting. Everybody admits that cell phones are wreaking havoc on mental health, happiness, anxiety, depression. It is completely ruined all of those issues. We all admit it now. But it's just me, so we'll be all right. And it's my kid. My kid's better than your kid. My kid can handle it. Your kid can't. Other kids are the problem. That's how we all think. Our kids are superior, a little smarter than the kid down the street, so they can handle it. But maybe not. Apparently, we're just texting them too often. They're asking you here that if the message is not urgent, it can probably wait. And I would think if you're asking your kid what you want for dinner tonight, that probably could wait. That probably could have happened in the conversations you have with your kids before school, not while they're there. Right? The school's making the point that if you have an emergency with your kid, you can contact the front office. Now, I've said this about people at work. Well, I need my cell phone. What if something happens? Okay? So call your parents at the office. They'll contact your parents. Whatever it is, right? Like, you can be reached. I remember saying this as a bar owner and when I first moved here, this was a big thing with bar owners, wanted bartenders to get their phones out of their hand. And I said, I've been a bar owner and I've been a bartender. Let me tell you, no need for you to have their phone. Now, it's kind of tough, right? Because you kind of want your hot bartender with the big boobs to post a picture talking about happy hour so she can use those big boobs to pull customers in so you can make money. You want her using the phone then, right? Yeah, you do. But then if she's texting her boyfriend instead of pouring drinks, now all of a sudden it's a problem. So it's a little bit of a mixed message. But I remember telling bartenders, if you need to be reached at work, the bar has a phone. And you can be called there. And I think this is mostly true of parents reaching out to their kids during the school day. There's one thing kind of hanging out there that makes me go, nah, I want my kid to have the phone. Because a lot of schools are moving to phone-free classrooms. There's one thing hanging out there that makes me go, yeah, I don't know. We all know what it is. We've talked about that before. Let's say that horrific thing happens. I can make the argument, I want to text my kid. I want my kid to tell me they're okay before somebody else tells me. Understand. I think there are people who are going to make the argument you're only going to add to the confusion and the chaos. That's normally why they won't let you get all the way to the building. While they rope it off, set a barrier, so you cannot add to the chaos, so you cannot muddy up the street for, first responders and all of that. I know what a lot of you are thinking. Sad we even have to talk about it. You're not wrong. But it is out there. And it ain't rare enough to where we can't bring it into this conversation. Sorry, I wish it were. But it isn't. It happens often enough to where when you're talking about being able to reach kids in school, it's going to be a big part of the conversation. You want to take that out of this conversation? Well, so would I. Then we got to fix this goddamn society and get it right. So we can take it out of this conversation, so we can keep it about arithmetic and learning how to dissect sentences. Does he think sentences are like frogs? You don't dissect them? Yeah, you do. Actually, yes, you do. But anyway. Then fix that. Then we need to stop lying about how we care about mental health and actually take real steps to care about it to help us curtail this problem. But nah, ain't nobody got time for that. Nah. Just hit that Staples easy button. Tell everybody you got it. Hit them little red hearts for admitting that you got a problem. You realize if we kept the mental health conversation about people who commit crimes like this, absolutely nobody who tells me they have anxiety every day would tell me that they have it. You know that, right? They're gonna lump me in with the trench coaters. I'm not one of those. I just get a little sad being at work too long. Yeah, we know. Like that's what everybody's been saying, is that you're broadening the definition of this so far that everybody's underneath the umbrella. We're getting a little lost in the sauce. But to me, that is the one thing, that's the bare. Now, I'm sure there are more. There's probably something I'm not thinking about, right? I've told you before, when it comes to the kid thing, I showed up in the fourth quarter. One of them's in college, for crying out loud. The other one's young, but I mean, so like, I didn't, you know what I mean? This isn't my thing. This isn't my life. So there's probably a 900 situations you've been in as a parent where it's like, dude, are you forgetting about that one? What about that one? What about this one? But mostly your kids are reachable through the front office, are they not? If your pushback is, I don't trust the school to communicate with my kid, I'm making this too easy, but then are your kids in the right schools? You have more options now on where your kid goes to school than you had when you were going. I know, that's a big undertaking. It is, and I'm not trying to dismiss that. But we can't be the same people who are like, these things are distracting, it's ruining kids' attention spans, and then be the thing that's ruining the attention span. That, I don't know if I love that. This is not, by the way, new. My sister-in-law, and I've told you before, this is not me, this is the industry saying it. She is a world-class educator. She's rare air. She makes, and I mean, boatloads of money in education. That's not most people's experience. It's hers because of what she's decided to do with her. Students were throwing desks at her. Not here. I meant in Ohio, Northeast Ohio, not Canton. I should clarify that. It was Maple Heights. They were throwing desks at her. And when parents would come for the parent-teacher conference, they would yell at her about the fact that their kid threw a desk at her. So this is a problem been brewing for a while, kids in schools and what they're learning, what they're not, whether or not it's a conducive environment for the good kids who want to learn and all that. This is not these, I mean, we've been talking classroom size since I was in second grade. So some of these problems aren't new. But like, imagine if my mom and dad, your mom and dad, were coming to elementary school every day, middle school every day, going, what do you want for dinner? You would look at your parents like, cut the cord, Kathy! But because you can text them, it's sold as just being a good parent. Staying up to date with your kids is the mark of a good parent. For sure it is. Absolutely it is. It was such a problem when I was growing up. We had this on TV. It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are? Because apparently parents didn't become trash until TikTok got invented. Okay. Yes, these are new problems, and they are in fact problems. But if the whole thing is my kid has to study more, my kid has to pay attention in class more, I don't want them on TikTok in class, I don't want their phone in class, then you have to cut the cord. Most of you probably aren't doing this because you already know all of this. But plenty of people don't. And again, it's like most other problems. Everybody thinks it's a problem when anybody else does something, but it's just me, it's just 2 minutes, it's just one text, I'll be fine. My kid's smarter than the other kids, it'll be all right. My kid can handle it, those kids can't. And that's how everybody ends up texting their kid all day when they're supposed to be learning economics or maybe government from Joe Clement in Virginia. Now, if I stop texting my kid about hamburgers in 7th period, does that guarantee he cares about what's going on in 7th period? No. But let's at least give them a fighting chance at it, no?
We would have him drug tested, but why waste the money? The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the Stansberry Show, New Church Tuesday at 9, and I also got these tickets for incarceration. Just a few minutes, we'll get you hooked up. What we had been talking about is teachers are starting to complain about parents. You know, parents complain about schools a lot. Now teachers are turning around and going, yeah, you guys are no day at the park either. Apparently, phones in school is a big issue. And, parents are texting their kid too often during class. And they say a lot of they're taking these phones from these kids to see the text and the like, and they're seeing, like, what do you want for dinner and what'd you get on your test and all of that. And, I feel like text messages have, not ruin relationships, but, you used to not talk to your better half all day. Then you'd get home at the end of the workday, you'd have dinner, how was this, how was that, and you'd kind of talk it out. Now you're texting each other throughout the day, all of those things, and then you get together, you're like, all right, let's just scroll on our phone, pretend to watch TV, and let's just be quiet, right? And so I think as we've seen conversation like that happen with couples, I don't think it's necessarily crazy to think that we're getting a little overboard with texting kids just because we can. Now, this is a different view here. Doug writes in, he goes, Stansberry, I have a sophomore at Canton South. He's like, you and the teachers have it backwards. I'm third shift and I do not get to talk to my two little ones before school in the AM unless they're up, really early. I text him on the daily, if not multiple times, about pickup and practices and whatnot. He also has no less than 4 times throughout the day that he is permitted to be on his phone. Study hall, lunch, 2 other classes. He checks them and then answers. I may be sleeping, but he knows I'll get it when vice versa with me, and he'll get back to me when he can. Okay. So what I think is happening there, I don't know how many people are working third shift. I don't think it's the bulk of people. But okay, this is an interesting thing. Now, I did like the part where you told me they're allowed to use their phones at 4, these times, study hall, lunch, 2 other classes where it's maybe not necessarily, as extensive workload or whatever it should be. Okay. I don't think that's what most teachers are talking about. I think teachers are talking about, we're in the middle of teaching your kid something and they pull the phone out of their pocket and they start texting and they're not paying attention. They're not learning. And, and you're putting your kid, and this would be true, right? That we're putting our kids in a situation where they need to decide which adult who outranks who. Does the adult I'm told to listen to all day about these 2 subjects, do they outrank my mom? Well, of course not. That's my mom. Nobody outranks mom, not even dad. Mother's Day, hear about it nonstop. Dad, here's an old tie. Dad doesn't even outrank mom. You know what I mean? So, good luck thinking that the English teacher is going to do that. I think you're not wrong about what you're saying. I think it is a little bit of a different issue. I also took, a lot of these. I used to blame my texting on my parents. Is that what's happening here? Okay, so and I went back and forth with Zach a little bit here, and it kind of sounds like he came in the middle of the segment, as people are prone to do. That's why a lot of times you'll hear radio hosts repeat themselves. It's not repeating yourself. It's called setting the table. And so for that, they took a lot of these kids' phones and were reading the text messages. So they could see they were coming from the parents, and they were about dinner, and they were about what you got on the test. Like, you should be able to wait until your kid gets home to find out what they got on the test. Now, I know what the pushback's going to be. Oh, Stansbury, you don't know about this, you dummy. I spent 4 nights at my kitchen table studying with my kid. They were so nervous. They woke up, they went to school, and I gotta know.